Great.
Today on Adversity to Strength, my guest is Gabor Kadas, an entrepreneur whose life across multiple countries, two continents, gave him first-hand insight into solitude, relocation, and social disconnection. When COVID intensified isolation and technology increasingly replaced in-person interaction, Gabor experienced what millions did: distance from community, routine, and real world connection. Like many, he limited face to face interaction until vaccination became widely available, a decision that underscored how fragile social infrastructure can be. Research suggests that tens of millions of Americans under 50 report persistent feelings of isolation, often driven by relocation, remote work, digital substitution, broader social shifts. Gabor decided not to just observe the problem, but to build a response. He is the founder of Friendling, a verified social platform designed not for dating, but for genuine friendship. Unlike traditional apps, Friendship emphasizes identity, verification, proximity-based shared interest. Users create "Are you in" cards to signal participation in real-world activities from beach volleyball to rock climbing, with the understanding the true connection is completed offline, not on a screen. Today we discuss the psychology of loneliness, the unintended consequences of hyper-digital culture, and whether technology can be redesigned to serve human connection rather than replace it. This is a conversation about rebuilding community in a disconnected age. Gabor, it's great to have you on the podcast. I've been so looking forward to speaking with you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that great introduction. Yes, I guess as everybody who does something new, I did it because I was trying to solve a problem with my co-founder, Joel, that affected me personally. As you had mentioned in your introduction, I grew up in several countries. I was actually born in Hungary, Central Europe. I grew up in the UK, went to school in London, went to King's College, and after university, I moved to Canada. I lived there for 5 years, and I've been living in the States, permanently in California for the past 30 years, although for the past year and a half, I've actually moved to North Carolina. So if you look at my track record in terms of where I live, it's all over the place. Moving from California to North Carolina is about, I don't know, 3,000 miles, or I haven't actually measured it. Distance from West Coast to the East Coast. So like moving to a new country. On a personal, COVID added to this for everybody, but most people, I guess, especially in the UK even today, who have friends in from school, they stay around them. So if you were brought up in London, it is unlikely that, or not unlikely, but smaller percentage of people move out from London, whereas in the States, people move around for work. Loneliness is more of an issue in the US, and I'm sure it's an issue in the UK as well. But because of the way society is built and designed in the US, it affects more people. And that is why about 60, 70 million people here in the US say that they are alone. And it's not something you brag about. So if 60 and 70 million people say they're alone, I am sure the real figure is even higher, perhaps 80 or whatever. It's not, hey, I'm proud to say that I'm alone. Obviously, it's something you not discuss. And that is the whole problem. People do not discuss the fact that they're alone, and society doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's so true. It's one of those things that people won't struggle to admit to. As a therapist, I have a lot of clients that come to me, and they first of all, they don't actually realize that they're suffering from loneliness. They actually don't. They feel they're depressed. And then when you ask them a few quick questions, they work remotely, or they've gone through a divorce. They've been single for a few years. Who have you gone and seen? I've not really gone anywhere. And they don't realize that how isolated their life has become. So I can, and just even in everyday life, even before the technology that we've got today, it's very easy to become like lonely and isolated. But now more so there as well. Tell us a little bit about what you've actually discovered, because it's really frightening.
Yes, it is frightening. As you're saying, people don't realize because technology misleads them. You have 1,000 friends, I'm just making a number up, on
Yeah.
Facebook. And how many do you know? How many do you meet with? In my life, I'm 62. Friendship meant I go out with friends to the pub,
Yeah.
whatever. How many have you met? And that is the problem. You are misled into thinking that you have friends because you have so many followers, so many quote unquote friends. And basically, all you're doing is sitting in front of a screen all day and endlessly chatting, whatever, without any human interaction. And when cavemen were living in tribes, they were interacting with each other, perhaps hitting each other with the club, but they
Yeah.
were interacting.
Yeah, I mean, I remember speaking to somebody, a young lad. It was after like about 3 or 4 weeks. He kept talking about his best friends, and I was like, "Your best friends?" Because it didn't. The conversation just didn't sound quite right. I was like, "Are these all online?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's talking like, I was like, "Have you ever met any of them?" No. But he's like, "Yeah, they're my best friends. There's one in Texas, and then there's one in like Japan and stuff like that." And I was like, "Have you got any friends in real life, in actual physical?" He went, "Oh, no." And he had no confidence or self-esteem to actually go out and physically meet somebody because he'd been so isolated for so many years. And he's like just a young guy in his bedroom. And his nearest best friends are somebody that he's never met and thousands of miles away. And it's very sad and extremely fragile.
Yes, unfortunately, friendship today is often perceived to be replaced by virtual people on screen. That is why our app Friending is different because you cannot do that. In Friending, let's say we start exchanging chat message or whatever, it is limited to 10. After 10, either of us have to send what is called a friend request. And that means we have to meet in person. So it's not going to go on to endless chat because the whole idea is that you meet people in Friending at a 50-mile, 80-kilometer distance where you can perceivably go and meet physically, meaning in a pub, in a coffee shop, whatever. So in order to become friends on Friending, my phone and your phone has to be next to each other. That means we have to meet in person. It's not like liking, following, whatever. If we haven't met in person, we are not friends in the Friending universe. And because we are meeting in person, the next release, which is at the end of the week or Monday, is going to contain a verification by persona who are a third party app verifying that your selfie and driver's license are the same. As a result, there are no bots or fake profiles because psychologically speaking, let's say I've been chatting with you endlessly on other apps, and then one day when I suggest we should meet, you ghost me. I have built up a psychological picture of you, and it is totally false because you said you were an 18-year-old blonde and you're not. That is why you're not meeting. So there's an emotional impact of being ghosted on a social media network because I haven't met you. Obviously, I haven't seen you because I would know you're not an 18-year-old blonde. Nonetheless, because of your description or chat, I have a mental picture of you. And as soon as I'm asking you, well, let's meet, obviously you ghost me because you cannot meet because you're not who you say you are.
Yeah.
And the verification process makes sure that at least you exist, and that's how you look. You may say you're the best tennis player and you never touched a tennis racket in your life.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you could live with that, but at least you exist. That's your physical characteristics, and that's it. So one of the biggest advantage of friending is that you could get ghosted, I guess, but at least you get ghosted by a real person and for a total different reason.
Yeah, I mean, the app that you've come up with, it sounds great, and it's a breath of fresh air, right? But at the same time, the hurdles you've got to go through just to get to somewhere where back in a few short years ago, you wouldn't need to do any of that to actually connect with somebody.
Yes, unfortunately, society has made apps, generally speaking, unreliable because you have no idea who you're talking to. It's an issue for kids, it's an issue for grown-ups. All these scams, being ghosted on a dating or friending network, I'm not saying is good, but it's nothing compared to other major scams that go on online. Unfortunately, safeguards have to be built in because you're meeting in a physical space because you have to meet, otherwise you're not going to be friends on friending. We have to make sure that it is as secure as possible. That is why a persona's, I guess, check validity in terms of profile and selfie is a must because there are so many scams that go on online, and we want to make sure it doesn't happen here.
It's just the way of the world, unfortunately. How did you come up with the concept for it?
Basically, in all honesty, it was my co-founder, Jolt, who came up with the original concept. I joined Friendling about 3 years ago. I was the one, for example, who said, well, if we're starting from scratch, let's verify individuals, etc. So it has evolved during the conversations I had with him over the past 3 years. He's the CTO, he's leading the development. I am leading the product marketing or some of the development feature side conceptually. Basically, we realized that there is a need for it, and we're trying to solve a huge social issue, and hopefully we'll get there at the end of the day.
I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it's so needed. I mean, as a therapist, I mean, I work from home as a therapist. Predominantly, all of my clients are online all over the world, so I can speak to 7, 8, 9, 10 different people, do a podcast in a day, and you can still come away from it feeling that you've not spoken to anyone. I've had endless clients where they've moved to a new city, or they've university or job or whatever, or they become single, whatever it might be, and the partner has moved out, and they moved to the area to be with their partner, and they didn't realize that their partner's friends, which they thought were their friends, was actually just their partners. So they've all gone and they're on their own. And so many of them said to me, I've got no friends, I don't even know what to do. And I'm there saying, well, join a club and do this and all the usual sort of things there. Because a lot of people go to like a club or a group or gym because they want to meet other people, but you need a reason to go there first. And people seem to really struggle doing that. At least with your app is what it says.
Yes, basically, it's a no pressure way of meeting people. You get the chance to have some conversation with them before you meet, even especially for your female listeners. If you feel uncomfortable at your initial meeting, it's a long way of how to do that. But if you tap the screen 3 times, one of 3 things will happen. The police will come, they know where you are because of your phone. You can set it up so a friend will come, or alternatively, you can set it up so anybody in the neighborhood who has the Friendling app will come and help you if you feel uncomfortable. So we're really emphasizing safety because of the person-to-person encounter. And that's something it's not as simple as that, because it's a Bluetooth connection and you will need to buy a bracelet or a key ring or whatever. That's the only way to implement it. But nonetheless, we are thinking of doing that, and we figured out a technologically viable way of solving that issue, because iPhone or the iOS closes the screen, and the only thing that's constantly in touch is the Bluetooth communication. So that is why we need that, but we felt it's important as a safety feature that we'll implement in the future.
Yeah, obviously safety first is the most important thing there as well. When did it launch? How long ago was it officially launched?
It's in beta for the next few more days, and
Yeah.
it's launching next week once we finish the persona integration, which we're testing now. So I am assuming sometimes next week. We'll also have a huge article come out by Business Insider next week as well on the online version of that. So we're launching it, I guess, in time for our article coverage, because they felt it's important to deal with this issue as well. And they have a huge article coming out next week or the week after, something like that, online. So we're very much looking forward to that, because that will give us another boost in terms of recognition.
What's your targets for it? Because it sounds great. What have you got in mind?
Basically, our way of thinking is that we'll approach, once now it's out there and people can only get on the app once they are verified, is go by city, because the biggest problem here in the US, is that somebody may get on from California and not find anybody, and at the end they will just not end up using the app. So we're trying to focus on a city by city, I guess, acquisition in some respects. In the long term, that's probably, I guess, going to be Q3-ish. We are also going to deal with what speed friending organizers, which is just gaining popularity, speed friending in the UK, similar to speed dating, same concept. You speak to a few people, and then the ones that you sort of match with or click with, you'll end up talking perhaps more. And if you Google speed friending here in the US, there are hundreds of events happening in various cities. And we plan to launch a speed friending app for the speed friending organizers to tie into the regular friending app so that we can have people focused on various cities using the app.
That sounds a really great idea there as well. And I think once people are like familiar with it, then it's kind of almost like similar to like dating, but with friends. Because I think with the apps, there's dating apps there, but the actual friendships that, yeah, there's some out there as well. But people kind of like might struggle. It might even be harder for them to go on like a friendship app than or to meet new friends than on like a dating app. So I think if you've got people that have got different options there, then that's going to give them a bit more confidence with the different variations that you do.
Yes, I actually believe that all romantic relationships start off as friends. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure you know more about it than I, but that's my belief is that it is much less stressful for a friend relationship than if you targeting a specific dating, meaning, well, I must find a date type of, and what about rejection and all that. So it's a far less stressful relationship to try to find a friend, and who knows what that friendship turns into.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people that will just go there to meet somebody, to have a connection, especially if they're in an area they don't know anybody there as well. And there's not the pressure as if it's like a date, because you go in there both as friends there and then take it from there. And if it's just a friendship and one person thinks, well, friendship for me, it's a lot easier to say, yeah, just friends, as opposed to if it was on a date there as well. How do you see the world going when it comes to the whole connecting with each other and the friendships there as well, because it's the most isolated generation there's ever been?
Yes, on the surface, it shouldn't be. Interestingly, when I moved from the UK, I initially went to Canada about 35 years ago. And I could only afford to call my parents in Europe like once a week because I spoke to them on the Saturday. That was the cheapest day to call.
Yeah.
Today, I can speak to them 24 hours a day. It doesn't cost me anything. So, would think, why are we isolated when there's this huge connectivity? And I think the answer is because people using connectivity for the wrong purpose. And we're using connectivity to match you up, but that's the end of our online phase. Then you actually moving you offline because the real world is not happening in front of your screen. It's happening outside your door. And that is what we're trying to explain to people, that connection and internet is great to possibly meet with somebody who you would have never met otherwise, but then go outside and do something together and rejoin the real world.
What age group do you think you're likely to attract? Because I'm just thinking about it. I'm kind of assuming it might be what, 30s and upwards.
Yes, I'm speaking at least in the US, it is more difficult to find friends once you're past the age of 28.
It definitely is. Yes, I know this and know it from experience. It's crazy.
Yes, interestingly enough, which surprised me, when I read the research that more women are alone, I was surprised. But
Really?
interestingly enough, yes, interestingly enough, we have more women signing up as well. So the research I read actually correlates to our real life data because we have more women signing up than men. But me being a guy, where
Yeah.
there are women, men always show up.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the reason behind that? That there's more women that is it because I don't know. Generalize here. Is it because they're at home with the kids and people's lives have moved in a day? Is it harder to get a connection if they meet up with their friends? Even now, meeting up with friends, it's like an event. I'll see you in 3 months' time, and you're still waiting for that Friday night they've cancelled for Saturday. It seems a real effort. Why is it more so for women, do you think?
I have no idea. I couldn't find research underlying this reason. I assume because they're home with the kids, they are less isolated or they're more isolated because they are stuck at home. Their responsibilities are different,
Yeah, yeah.
socially speaking. I'm not saying it should be, I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying, unfortunately, although there's a changing trend, society assumes that it is the female gender who's supposed to take care of the kids, which I am sure is true up to a certain age. But I
Yeah.
don't know, above a 3 year old, I think a man is just as capable of taking care of the kid as a female is, but somehow society assumes it's a woman's responsibility to do that.
With the research you've done, I'm guessing you got the same answers as when I've researched. It's just that life gets in the way, and that's why the older you get, the harder it is to meet other people. That's kind of what I found. What did you find?
I agree, but I think that is a good excuse. I don't think it's life. It is used as a good excuse. Well, I'm doing this, that, I'm busy with that. I think people have time to do whatever they want to do and want to have time for. And they're just trying to not to get out of their comfort zone.
I think one of the things I mean, I had this conversation recently is that, back in the day in the UK, there was like 4 TV channels. You didn't watch BBC Two, you didn't watch Channel 4. So if you're going to work the next day, because obviously nobody works from home, the chances are that you watch the same program, you got something to talk about together there as well. You would knock people's doors, you would spend time with them. The people were all down the pub together there, spending time. There was less things to do. Life was a simpler place. Now there is so many options. I mean, what's the odds of me watching the same program as somebody else? It would have to be like a World Cup semi-final or something like that, because look how many apps there are. I could watch a film on YouTube, I could watch clips all night. How many apps are there for, like, your Amazon Primes, your Netflix of the world? There's just so many different things to do. There's so many options, and that must have a big effect on making their choices to actually physically go and meet somebody, because obviously we're lazy. To actually go out now, which is the only way we would meet up with people back in the, not that long ago. It's going to take a lot of effort, and if you've been at work all day or whatever, or you got things to do, and there's so many other choices, it must narrow that window down to a tiny percent of actually going to do that.
Yes, I agree. As you mentioned it yourself, people are lazy, and then they are surprised. Well, how did I get here? You got here because you were lazy, and it is very easy. Don't misunderstand me. It is very easy to be lazy, but you have to understand that for your psyche, for your mental health, for your physical health,
Yeah,
you need to go out and meet people in the real world, because talking to somebody on the screen doesn't substitute the real world.
it
Watching
doesn't.
the screen, think about an average day. Let's say you work from home, so out of your 8 hour Zoom day, you Zoom for 5 hours. So you
Yeah,
spend 5 hours on the screen. Finally, your work day is over. So you're going to spend the next 5 hours watching Netflix or Amazon on the same screen that you were using for work. So out of your 24-hour day, you slept 8, that leaves 16. So out of your 16 hours, you spend 10 hours in front of the screen. That's horrible.
it's scary.
Yes.
It's scary. It's scary. I mean, I'll go to like, every like couple of months with my neighbour, a friend of mine. We go to the pub just to have a couple of drinks, and even because I work from home, I'm looking forward to it. He's a great guy, and I'm really looking forward to it. But my brain's going, don't worry about it, don't worry. And I have to like put the effort in to get ready to go. As soon as I'm walking down there and it's all great, and we're chatting away and it's like normal, but overcoming that obstacle of actually getting out of the house, even though that's what I'm desperate to do because I've been in all week or whatever, and then you get into like the pub and it's like, wow, there's people there. It's actually, and just be, you might not speak to, apart from the barman, whatever, getting a couple of drinks or whatever, you might not speak to anybody, but the actual, the atmosphere, there's other people there, takes you sort of back to a time where we took this for granted now. And now you're looking at it as a bonus. And I don't know about yourself, but I looked around and I'm like, you have to kind of work hard to kind of get this, because in the UK, the pubs are shutting down. You have to kind of go out of your way to really find people to be amongst. Whereas before, it was just standard. That's all we did.
Yes, I mean, I work from home. I always work from home, but I would often go out to a coffee shop, pay 5 times as much for the coffee that I could drink at home, probably shitty coffee compared to what I do at
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
But I still go out there just to be among real people, so
Yeah,
I'm not stuck in front of the screen all day. And
yeah.
I need that as a person, because I go, berserk otherwise, in all honesty.
Yeah, and as being a therapist and you study psychology, you go back to caveman day. We're meant to be in tribes. We're meant to be around other people. We're meant to do that. If you're extremely, and there's somebody in prison and they do something wrong, what do? They put them in isolation. away from everybody else as punishment. So it kind of
Yes.
point how important it is to be around other people. And for me, it's scary that you have to make an app to do all of the things you do in order to get people to meet each other. Whereas you would think that it should be the easiest thing in the world to be amongst other people. We actually have to work hard to do that now.
I truly believe that the world has turned upside down
Yeah,
because you have, I mean, it's just going to get worse. And the projection actually shows that
I
in
read that.
5 to 10 years, people in the US, about 65% of the people will be alone. Now, why? Today, you just have a screen. There's, I don't know the name of the robot they're selling for $10,000, which is a lot of money. Today is 10,000. In 2 years' time, it will be $2,000 and twice as smart as today's $10,000 robot. So imagine an era when you will actually have, quote unquote, a physical being in in your room or in your space, so you
Yeah.
will think that you're even less alone because you can talk or look at ChatGPT or
ChatGPT.
whatever.
I know people that have got a name for ChatGPT. They say good morning to it. They say good night to it.
Yes. I mean, Alexa, I use that to turn the light and the lights off, on and off. I don't have a conversation with,
No.
So there is a limit. But now we talk to somebody virtually on the screen. Imagine in 5 years' time when that virtual being is going to be in your physical space.
I think the other thing that worries me, and I'm sure it was I watched an Elon Musk video that he thinks it's a matter of time before humans start having relationships with AI models.
I am sure, I mean, I don't know if you're reading it or not, that he is actually shutting down the factory in California to build robots. He is revamping the Tesla car factory to manufacture robots.
Because but the scary thing is, it sounds like when you first say it, it sounds absurd and it sounds like something like Blade Runner. But if you've got somebody that's lonely, that might not have the confidence to meet somebody, to date somebody or whatever, and they can pay X amount to get, like, say, like a guy orders like a female AI, and I'm sure you can pay to have it look how you want that. And the conversations, you're never going to have an argument or anything like that, So, and
The best partner you can imagine.
exactly, there's the good side to it there, and it won't take 50% when you get divorced, but you can see some, and a lot of people the brain will end up thinking that it's a real person, and you can see it just kind of escalating to that level. You kind of almost the next step. So it scares me, but I do unfortunately see that happening. Why would it not? And I've seen a
As
few.
a therapist, I'm sure you will be busy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got clients that come to me and they sort of said to me, "Oh, yeah, I love having therapy." And I've got a friend that goes to ChatGPT to solve its therapy problems, which is like you can get some information edited, certain things that you can do, but the whole point of therapy is a human interaction, it's sort of physical human listening to you.
Yes. I'm not saying friending is going to solve all the problems, but it is a step in the right direction.
In the right direction. It's a big one, actually.
And unless society does something and realizes that there's a psychological issue involved in being alone, as well as, I guess, a physical issue in terms of high blood pressure, your blood sugar and whatever, it is going in a very bad direction.
Yeah, I mean, like I work from home, and what 5, 6 years ago, somebody said to me, "Do you want to work from home?" I'd be like, "Yeah, 100%. Why are you even asking me that?" I would rather go into work every single day. All the things that I hated, driving into work, driving home, sitting with people, some of them are your friends, some you don't get on with. I would do that all day, every day, Monday to Friday, given the option, just to have that
Yeah.
interaction for granted.
The problem with COVID is that,
Sped it
other
up.
than other than the infection, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the mental, psychological part. It has forced people to work from home. Even today in the US, I don't know, 5 years or whatever after COVID. And there's a problem with, I always work from home, so I'm psychologically prepared to do that. Some
Yeah.
people are forced to do that. They miss the social interactions of work. They may not have, especially if you live in a big city here in the US, the physical space. You may have two young kids and the wife at home with those two kids. The kids are screaming. You're trying to have a Zoom conversation. So I'm okay because I have the physical space and I have the mental, I guess, training or whatever to do that. But a lot of people not. So that's also just, especially if you're a young person, maybe living alone, you don't go out for days. You can order food on Amazon or whatever and don't leave your home.
I've had this conversation many times. If you've got the money, you don't actually ever need to leave your home. You could get somebody to come in and cook your dinner. You get all your shopping delivered to you at your Amazon Prime. You can get a personal trainer to turn up for you. You can get your gardener to turn. The list goes on. You never need to leave your home. For me, it sounds great and really convenient, but it's terrible. Even just going in the supermarket, I remember like during COVID, you say about COVID, I remember like we're locked in for like a couple of weeks, and I'm a pretty confident person. It's not a lot that particularly favours me. And I remember walking into like Tesco's in the supermarket, and I'd been out for like 10, 12 days, something like that. And it's the first time I've been in a supermarket for a week. And I felt like my confidence was like really rock bottom. Oh, what I've got to do again? A basket. And I had to like remember how to do things there. And you could see other people were like that. And you just take that for granted. Literally, it's frightening that you could live your whole life without leaving. It's almost like putting yourself in like a glorified prison cell.
Yes, and it's isolated version of that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because you could speak to anyone in the world online. Social media is everywhere, which is the opposite to what it says it is, and think that it's all good and not realize why you're feeling terrible.
Yes, and unfortunately, because of the ability of social media, now that you can have a camera and the speed is sufficient to watch movies, etc., the throughput. And as I said, the next evolution is a robot in your physical space. And that's even going to make things worse because you don't have a virtual somebody, you have a physical somebody who's a virtual human being. So it's virtual in that respect, but it's not virtual in terms of being physically present.
I wonder if down the line it will have any, if it will have a, I'm sure it'll have a level of a positive impact on people from feeling alone. I'm sure it will. I'm sure ChatGPT helps people to a degree, but would it fully replace a human being? I don't think not.
It's better than, and I think in some respects, my mother is 93. She needs people to take care of, but there's a real people, and we can afford to actually have her at home and get care at home. She's okay mentally, physically. She walks about at home, but she's not safe getting out of the street and whatever. So there's that. At least there's somebody there, and I'm sure for many old people, speaking to a virtual machine, especially if they had a son or daughter who doesn't visit them, they can call that object, Rob or Mary or whatever, to quote unquote, in their mind, replace their son or daughter. So it has a positive effect. Just as social media and the internet has a positive effect. And I think you have to distinguish between an old people needing company who is fragile, whatever, and a person who is capable physically and mentally to go out and not doing that. So there is a differentiation. Why is there a robot or an AI thing in my house to help to take care of me, do cooking, have chores, whatever? Or am I replacing my quote unquote friend because I'm lazy to go to the pub? So
Yeah,
that's a difference.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's especially, yeah. If it takes effort to go out, the weather's not good. I don't know what mood that they're going to be in there. Do I really need this? Whereas you can sit there and, you know, have a conversation with somebody that's not going to argue with you.
Yes.
It's like,
But I think you need arguing to evolve, to get a different perspective from your viewpoint.
yeah, definitely. Otherwise, you're just in an echo chamber, chat GPT, and I ask it a question and then ask it someone else and it says, that's a great idea. And I'm like, no, I want to know what the best is. Don't agree with me. It's the last thing I
Yes.
want. But
Yes.
it's like with like you lived in the UK, with like when the European Championships on and the World Cups are on, so many people will go to like the pubs and everything. But for me, I did that, and I'm like, I can't get to the bar to get a drink. I can't see anything, and then there might be idiots there. Do you know what? I just stay at home and watch TV. It's so much easier. Which I get that, you know. But what you don't want is people that just make no effort to interact with other people on like just a normal social setting because it's too much effort.
Yes, I agree. I was fortunate because I've actually been to about 3 or 4 FA Cup finals, real life, not
Yeah.
on TV or whatever. So yeah, I was because of being a soccer fan, I was able to sort of get tickets a long time ago when I was a teenager. So I believe that the atmosphere also helps to put you in the mood. So going to a pub, you may not see a lot of the things, but you can watch it later, but you cannot miss the atmosphere that
Yeah.
the live event or people enjoying that event in a live scenario
It's
gives
it's
you.
it's so true. My team's Portsmouth from where I'm from, and I've like followed them for decades. And I've had spells where I would go to the games like season ticket holder. I'll go to all the away games, and I'd meet up with it's the same faces there, and because it's like almost like a whole family sort of thing. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you got, what you do for a living. You kind of all follow the same teams. Everyone says hello to everybody, and I love the camaraderie there as well. So to go into the games before I'd be like devastated that they would lose, and something you get used to losing home and away. And then I sort of realised that it's actually the actual match itself is actually a smaller percentage of what it was as a kid. It was 100%, but it's
Yeah.
actually getting on like the coach or the minibus, and you're talking about football all the way up there with your friends there. You're meeting other friends. It's great seeing your friends different part of the country from the same part, having conversations with them there as well. And it's a great feeling. It's something that you can't get sitting there watching a screen. You just can't.
Absolutely. So, and basically, that is what you're missing out on today. Real people, real interaction, discussing sports, movie, whatever. You mentioned that it is unlikely that 2 people watch the same movie. I agree, but it doesn't mean that, hey, I cannot suggest what I was watching and you
Yeah.
cannot suggest what I. So, not watching the same thing is not necessarily a barrier for a conversation. It may be just a different conversation where you say how great your thing was and how great my thing was. But this whole social media thing, there was a movie done a few years ago called Clickbait. And it's a really interesting, I'm not going to spoiler it, but it's a really interesting movie talking about what social media does. And it's on Netflix, I believe, and how it sort of affects people. So,
Yeah.
the real thing, real conversations are not going to be replaced by ChatGPT or an AR thing in your house. And basically, I think we're encoded to meet real people. And there's nothing, they may be as intelligent as a real person, but they're still deep down, it's an AI thing.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that because I've got people that I know that I've even got like clients that they stop using their iPhones and they're like using like a Nokia. Yeah, they've gone back in time because they don't want to be on their phone. You can get like apps where you like, close down like all your social media for like 30 days, shut it all off, things like that. And the apps they got are just like minimal. And I just wonder if it will not go full circle. It won't obviously, but if it will if it will kind of go back to over time where we're more interactive physically than what we have been. We've gone from one extreme to the other. I wonder if there will be some sort of equilibrium.
Absolutely. There in the US, it's already started, and there is a term for it called deplug.
Deplug.
Yes. And if you go to our website, friendling.com, you'll find more information about deplug. But basically, it's exactly what you're saying. You go, let's say, hiking with a group of people, and the criteria is you cannot have your phone with you. You go to bars, and the criteria is that they lock up your phone in these
Yeah, yeah.
cubicles.
I've seen that. And you go to there's some bars where you're not going to get any internet reception. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's a great idea, because how often have you been out with a lot of people? You look around and everyone's on their phone. It's so common, and we've all done it.
And the worst thing is if you go out, let's say for breakfast or lunch or whatever, and you see a family and four people sitting at the table and they are all on their various devices from tablets to phones. Why bother going out? You're not talking to one another.
Yeah, yeah. One, I remember you. I guess you would have seen it. It was like social media, about like social media, and it's got like a granddad, an old granddad that's taken out what would have been like his grandson, and he sat there like at a McDonald's, sort of ready to talk to him, and the kid's just on his phone like that. You know, and
Yes.
that really stood with me, because life's short enough as it is, especially with the people that we love the most.
Yes. So this circle is starting to break in the sense that there are people um, who believe that we're going in the wrong direction and doing something about it, and more people realizing it. Yes, it is a slow process, but I think I'm hoping that the projection of what will society look like in 10 years' time will not come true.
Yeah, I did the same, similar research to you, and I found it awful. I think that, and I think you're gonna have to work very hard for that to not happen, because it's easy. It's too easy for it to happen.
Yes.
So I think, I don't know. Hopefully, it will change. I wonder if it'll become like a generational thing. Like, when if I go to a concert, and I might take a couple of quick pictures as the concert's about to start, and record like 2 seconds of footage, and then I'll put my phone away and enjoy the concert. There's like a song that's come on, and people just getting their phones and they're recording the whole video.
Mm.
You watch it after, you've missed the actual thing, which is the best part. You're never going to get that again. It sounds tinny. You watch it once, you might show something. I went to a concert, look at that, all great, and it sounds like it's a million miles away, and you never watch it ever again, and you've missed that in the moment experience there. So hopefully it changes in that sense there, but only time will tell. But I think with like the app that you've got, and with other things that are going on, that it gives us a bit of a fighting chance to get that connection back. It certainly has been lost over the last, I don't know what, 10 years, 15 years maybe.
Yes. And I'm hoping that people realize that the other than family, friends are the most important. Um,
Yeah.
and health, of course. But you're missing out on just watching somebody on a screen for 8 or 10 hours a day and not doing anything. And we're really trying to help. On our website, we're selling coffee only in the US, which is no big deal because many people sell coffee. But our coffee is different because when you order it, you can send a message with it. And that message, I'll show you. I'm not sure if it's a video or not, but there's a QR code on the back of this. And when you send the coffee to somebody, they read the QR code and they get the message. So it's sort of replacing a birthday card, perhaps, or just a general thank you card. And basically, we're trying to come up with items that are friendship related. And one of the things that will be in the newer version of the app is an altered version of, I guess, Airbnb or something like that. When let's say you go with a friend and go fishing, and that's a whole day event, and you don't want the other person to drive back, if you host them in your home, you get extra credit in Friending. So again, it's not a financial thing. It's not that one pays. You don't pay for us either. We're just being appreciative of the fact that you hosted this semi-stranger in your home because you were fishing together, perhaps, and you didn't want him or her to drive back.
Yeah, and it's about keeping the connection going.
Yes.
And if you got somebody that's kind enough to do that, and you're a nice person, you reciprocate it, it's more likely to build a stronger, sustainable friendship. So I think it's a great idea.
That's the
Um,
logic behind it. So really trying to find ways for people to
yeah.
to get back to the old friending ways.
So the app's due to be launched in literally in the next week or so.
Yes. It's already in the App
Yeah.
Store, but at the moment, you're not required to be verified. And it's only iOS. The Android version only works for reading your QR code on the message. But but there's no Android version of the Friendling app at the moment. But there will be later in the year. And
Yeah.
yes, it's launching next week pretty much.
I wish you all the best with that. I hope it's a success. It's something that really could make a big difference to people. I love the concept of it. It's such a great idea.
Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic talking to yourself, Gabor. Well worth the wait to have a conversation with you. I really appreciate you coming on today, and I wish you all the best with it.
Thank you as well, and good luck with your future shows as well.
Thank you so much.